Hi everyone, welcome back to Betrayed. Thanks for joining us today. We have a brand new story to share. So let's begin. I overheard my wife, while she was drunk and laughing with her friends, say something I'll never forget. He's too dumb to realize I've been cheating for years. All of them burst into laughter. I didn't say a word, but when she later showed up at my door in tears, she got a surprise she never expected. I'm a 33-year-old man, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person posting on a page like this, but here I am. Buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. Here's how it started. Last weekend, I was supposed to go on an overnight trip with my friends to watch a big game 2 states away. We had been planning it for months, but Daryl's child got sick at the last minute, so we had to cancel. No big deal, it happens. I decided I'd surprise my wife, Heather, 32. By coming home early. Yeah, I know how that usually turns out in stories like this, but believe me, what happened next was even worse than catching her with another man. I pulled into the driveway around 9 p.m. and noticed several cars parked outside. I immediately recognized Michelle's Subaru and Kathleen's Honda. Heather had mentioned earlier that she might invite the girls over while I was away, so that made sense. I was about to walk in through the front door, but then I heard voices coming from the back deck. The side gate was open, so I walked toward it. They were being loud in a wine-drunk kind of way. I was going to say hello when I suddenly heard my name, so I paused.
Call it instinct.
Griffin is just so. I can't even, Heather slurred. The girls giggled. OMG, I still can't believe you've kept this going for so long, Michelle said. Then Heather practically shouted, "He's too stupid to realize I've been cheating for years." They all burst out laughing. I froze.
Completely.
My brain just stopped working for a second. Sutton's been the best decision I've ever made, Heather went on. Last week while Griffin was working late, Sutton came over and we hooked up, right on the couch where Griffin takes his precious naps. More hysterical laughter.
No.
Not the sacred nap couch. Kathleen shrieked, like it was the funniest thing in the world. You should have seen how sweet Griffin was the next morning, Heather added. He made me breakfast. If he only knew what his precious wife had done the night before. My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That breakfast. I had made her favorite avocado toast and her fancy eggs. I even brought her coffee in bed and told her I loved her. I don't know how long I stood there listening, shaking from head to toe. I found out that during my business trips, she regularly invited Sutton over. They had been together for over 3 years. She even saw him the weekend of my father's funeral, the one she missed because she claimed to have food poisoning. I didn't confront them. I didn't make a scene. I just quietly walked back to my car, drove to a nearby Target parking lot, and sat there until I could breathe again. I must have looked insane, a grown man hyperventilating in his car at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. Once I could think clearly again, I called Daryl. Thankfully, his kid was feeling better, and he answered. Dude, my whole life just fell apart, I told him. Don't go home tonight, he said. Come stay here. We'll figure it out. At Daryl's house, I paced his living room for hours while he looked up divorce lawyers. My mind kept flashing back to all the moments over the years that suddenly made sense. Her girls' trips with barely any photos. Keeping her phone face down. Unexplained charges at hotels less than 30 minutes from home. Working late. Always showing houses to clients. I felt like the biggest fool in the world. Around 3 a.m., I got a text from Heather. Girls are staying over here. Hope you're having fun with the boys. Love you. I nearly threw my phone across the room. The audacity. You need to be smart about this, Daryl said, taking my phone. Don't tip her off. Not yet. The next morning, I acted like everything was normal. I told her I had passed out at Daryl's after drinking too much. She believed it. She even complained about having to clean up after her friends while nursing a hangover. Over the next week, I went into full investigation mode. While she was in the shower, I checked her phone. Thousands of texts with Sutton, some going back years. Hotel receipts. Intimate photos. I took screenshots and emailed everything to myself. Then I checked her finances. Hundreds of charges at restaurants I'd never heard of. Lingerie I'd never seen. She even used our joint account to pay for a weekend getaway with Sutton, the same weekend I was burying my father. Each new discovery felt like another stab to the chest. 8 years of marriage. All those times I defended her to my family when they said she was self-centered. All the dreams we had for the future, even talks of starting a family next year.
Gone.
I met with a divorce lawyer during my lunch break, the most aggressive one in town, according to Google reviews. She didn't sugarcoat it. Document everything. Secure your finances. Prepare for the storm, Griffin. I see this kind of situation every day, my lawyer told me. You're doing the right thing by not confronting her just yet. The more prepared we are, the stronger your position will be. That night, I watched Heather laughing at something on her phone, probably texting him.
Something inside me changed.
The pain was still there, but instead of burning anger, I felt a chilling calm, like ice water running through my veins. I realized then that I didn't just want to leave the marriage. I wanted justice. See, Heather had built her entire identity around being respected and admired. Her reputation, her social image, the perfect wife with the perfect life, all carefully crafted on Instagram. She prided herself on being the one people turned to for advice, the so-called moral compass of her friend group. But now, I had proof that it was all a lie. I started making quiet moves behind the scenes. I transferred half of our savings into a new, private bank account in my name, password protected. I secured all important documents. I created a detailed list of all our shared assets. I photographed everything valuable in the house. All of this was on my lawyer's advice. Meanwhile, I kept pretending everything was normal. I kissed Heather goodbye in the mornings, asked about her day, watched Netflix beside her while she secretly texted Sutton right next to me. Each day, I played the role of the clueless husband, while carefully preparing to dismantle her entire world. 2 weeks in, I was ready. I had everything. Documented proof. Financial records. Evidence of the affair. A signed lease for a new apartment. Support from my family, all of whom were shocked by what she had done. The hardest part was staying calm when she'd look me in the eyes and lie. When she'd say, "I love you," before bed. When she suggested we start trying for a baby next month. Every time, I wanted to scream in her face. But I stayed quiet, because I knew something she didn't. The same woman who laughed behind my back, calling me stupid, had no idea I was about to become the most precise, unrelenting force she'd ever dealt with, and I was going to do it all by the book. TLDR, I overheard my wife bragging to her friends about cheating on me for years. Instead of confronting her, I've spent weeks collecting evidence and building a solid divorce strategy. The countdown to D-Day has begun. Update.
First off, wow.
I didn't expect my story to get so much attention. Thanks for all the support and Reddit Gold. Seriously, what? For those asking if this is some kind of creative writing exercise, I wish it were. It's been 3 weeks since my last update and a lot has happened. So buckle up. Remember how I said I had a plan? Well, I've been carrying it out with military-level precision. The day after I posted, I noticed something odd. Heather was suddenly being extra nice. Making my favorite meals. Initiating sex. Suggesting we look at homes in nicer neighborhoods. At first, I thought maybe she found out I knew. But then I realized it was guilt. Classic cheater behavior, according to all the 3 a.m. Reddit posts I'd been reading. Let me break it down step by step. Finances. Priority number 1. I had already moved half of our savings to my own account. Then, I documented every single expense related to her affair. Hotel charges. Dinners she claimed were with clients, but were actually with Sutton. Lingerie she bought for him. I created a spreadsheet with receipts and notes. My lawyer said this could qualify as dissipation of marital assets. Basically, she was using shared money to cheat. I also froze our joint credit cards. Told her there was suspicious activity and the bank was sending new ones. Technically true. That gave me time to remove her as an authorized user from my personal credit card. The look on her face when her card got declined at Sephora? Absolutely priceless. She called me in a rage, complaining how embarrassing it was. I just played dumb and said, "Maybe the new cards are delayed?"
Property.
I slowly moved my important belongings into my new apartment, little by little. Only the irreplaceable stuff. My late dad's watch. Family photos. Important documents. I did this while she was out showing houses, aka hooking up with Sutton. Each time I removed something, I swapped it with a cheap duplicate or rearranged things slightly so she wouldn't notice. The evidence packet. This is where Daryl was a lifesaver. He helped me organize everything into what we called the nuclear file. Screenshots of messages. Photos. Hotel receipts. Credit card statements. A full timeline of the affair. A USB with phone call recordings. We live in a one-party consent state. We made multiple copies. One for me. One for my lawyer. One for Sutton's wife. Yep, I found her. Her name's Laura, and she's a kind woman who had no clue. And one that would eventually go to Heather's parents. The social strategy. This part was delicate. I didn't want Heather twisting the story to make me look like the bad guy. So, I started having casual chats with our mutual friends. Nothing obvious, just subtle comments like, "Heather seems kind of distant lately. Do marriages ever feel lonely to you?" I gently planted seeds of doubt without revealing anything yet. I also took screenshots of Heather's Instagram, where she portrayed our marriage as #relationship goals while cheating behind the scenes. Heather was still actively cheating, and the hypocrisy was beyond belief. Then came D-Day, and I chose it carefully. It was the day of Heather's big client appreciation event, something she'd spent months planning. That morning, I acted completely normal. I made coffee, kissed her goodbye, and wished her good luck. She walked out the door looking proud and confident, dressed to impress in an outfit I now realized I'd basically paid for, just so she could look good for someone else. At exactly 10 a.m., I sent the evidence package to Sutton's wife, Laura, via courier. I included my phone number in case she wanted to talk. By noon, chaos had erupted. I was at my new apartment when the text started rolling in. "Why is Sutton's wife calling me? Did you talk to her? Pick up your phone." I didn't reply. I just watched the messages pile up. Then Laura called. We talked for nearly an hour. She was devastated, but also incredibly thankful. She told me Sutton had been gaslighting her for years, making her feel paranoid and crazy. Now that the truth was out, Sutton was desperately trying to save his marriage, and, of course, that meant throwing Heather under the bus. By 2 p.m., Heather's big event had completely fallen apart. She had to leave early because of the emergency. She called me nonstop. At 3 p.m., I sent a short, factual email to her parents. No emotion, just a clear timeline of what happened, with evidence attached. I told them I'd always respected them and didn't want to hurt them, but I also couldn't let Heather twist the story. They deserved to know the truth. By 6 p.m., I was sitting calmly in our living room when Heather finally came home. Her mascara was smeared, and she looked like she'd aged a decade in a single day. She started yelling at me. "How could you tell Laura? How could you betray me like this?" Then, when I didn't react, she quickly shifted gears.
Tears.
Screaming. Seduction. More crying. I just stayed calm and said, "We both know exactly what's going on." Then I handed her the divorce papers. My lawyer had them ready. The color drained from her face when she realized this wasn't a sudden outburst. I had been planning this for weeks, while lying next to her in bed each night. That's when she noticed some of my things were missing. I told her I'd already moved out and that she had 3 days to figure out her next steps before I informed our landlord about the morality clause in our lease, another helpful discovery by my attorney. The next few days were intense. Heather went from threats, "You'll never get away with this," to begging, "We can fix this. It was just physical. I've always loved only you," to playing the victim. "I was lonely, you were always working." Meanwhile, her social circle was falling apart. Her friends Michelle and Kathleen ghosted her completely, probably realizing that their involvement might become public. Her parents had a harsh conversation with her. Her mom later called me to apologize. And Sutton? That coward was in full damage control mode, telling his wife that Heather was obsessed with him and wouldn't leave him alone. Then the financial fallout hit her. She discovered Half our savings was already legally moved into my account. Her access to our joint credit cards was gone. She couldn't afford our rent on her own. Her failed event meant she was likely losing clients. And yesterday, the final blow. She learned that everyone knew. I didn't go around telling people, but word spread fast. Sutton's wife told her friends, who told theirs, and soon the whole social circle Heather had built around her perfect life knew the truth. It all collapsed. Last night, she showed up at my new apartment. Somehow, she found my address, probably through a friend who works at the leasing office. She was sobbing at my door, makeup running, completely broken. For a second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. I let her in to avoid a scene with the neighbors. She immediately launched into a long apology. I made a terrible mistake. I'll do anything to fix this. I can't believe I risked our marriage for someone like Sutton. I just looked at her and said, "Remember when you told your friends I was too stupid to notice you were cheating?" Surprise. The look on her face. I can't even describe it.
Shock.
Then horror. Then shame. She tried to explain, said she didn't mean it, she was drunk, it was just talk, blah blah blah. I cut her off and told her to sit down. I had something to show her. What she got was a complete financial breakdown of her future. I showed her spreadsheets, projections, a clear, detailed accounting of how her life would look after the divorce. Her new reality, in black and white. TLDR. I executed my plan to perfection. I exposed my wife's affair, secured my financial future, and watched her carefully curated world collapse piece by piece, all without losing my cool. She came to me begging for forgiveness, but instead, she got a cold dose of financial reality. Final update, 6 months later. First, thanks to everyone who messaged to check if I was still alive. I just needed time to process everything before sharing how it all ended. You know those YouTube videos where they demolish old buildings? It starts with small, calculated explosions, and then the whole structure crumbles in on itself. That's basically what happened to my ex-wife Heather's life. And I had a front row seat. The morning after Heather showed up at my apartment in tears, I woke up feeling calm. For the first time in months, I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. with that sick knot in my stomach. I made myself coffee, scrolled through Reddit, and realized I hadn't checked my phone for messages from her. Progress. Meanwhile, Heather was getting her first taste of what my therapist later called consequences culture. After leaving my apartment, she apparently drove straight to her best friend Michelle's house, assuming she'd be taken in. But according to our mutual friend Jake, Michelle literally pretended not to be home. Lights on, car in the driveway, but no answer. Top-tier friendship, right? So, what's happened since then? The divorce. Surprisingly, the legal process went smoothly. My lawyer was worth every penny. During mediation, Heather tried to argue that one mistake shouldn't erase 8 years of marriage and that she deserved half of everything. The mediator, an older woman with zero tolerance for nonsense, looked her straight in the eye and asked, "Does 3 years of documented infidelity count as one mistake to you?" When Heather realized her usual tears weren't working, she got nasty. She threatened to ruin my reputation, accuse me of being abusive, and drag out the divorce for as long as possible. My lawyer calmly slid across the table a stack of photos of her with Sutton and reminded everyone that Maryland is one of those states where adultery impacts alimony. The look on Heather's face? Like someone who brought a knife to a nuclear war. We settled 2 weeks later. I kept my retirement accounts and most of our assets. She walked away with enough to start fresh, but nowhere near the lifestyle she was used to. Even the judge told her she was lucky, all things considered. The financial fallout. This part was honestly tough to watch, even for me. Heather had to move back in with her parents, in a retirement community. At 32. From our luxury apartment to a guest room with floral wallpaper and a twin bed she'd had since high school. She tried to maintain appearances on Instagram for a while, posting cryptic quotes about growth and trusting the journey. Carefully cropping photos so no one could see she was in her childhood bedroom. But social media is transparent. People notice when your updates go from fresh selfies to endless throwbacks. Then her situation got worse. she lost her job. Not because of the affair, her boss didn't care about her personal life, but because she kept missing work, arriving late, and likely struggling with depression. That part I honestly understood. The social aftermath. This was the most fascinating to watch. Our social circle fractured in ways I never expected. Team me Griffin, Daryl, Jake and his wife, most of my coworkers, and surprisingly, Heather's cousin Tina, who always thought Heather was selfish. Team Heather. At first, just her parents, but even they started keeping her at arm's length, according to family gossip. Eventually, she reconnected with Kathleen, who was going through her own post-divorce men are trash phase.
Team nobody.
Most people just stepped back from both of us.
I can't blame them.
No one wants to get caught in the middle of divorce drama. The most unexpected part? Michelle. After ghosting Heather, she reached out to me on Facebook. Said she wanted to check on me, maybe meet for coffee. I declined. The way she abandoned Heather the moment things got hard didn't sit right with me. The Sutton situation. Laura, Sutton's wife, and I stayed in touch. Nothing romantic. Just two people healing from the same kind of betrayal. We'd meet for lunch every few weeks and update each other on life. Sutton, meanwhile, tried every rom-com move in the book. Standing outside her house with a boombox. Sending huge flower arrangements to her job. Even involving their pastor. None of it worked. Laura filed for divorce 3 weeks after D-Day and moved in with her sister in Pennsylvania. Last I heard, she's dating a kindergarten teacher who also coaches Little League. Good for her. As for Sutton, he sent me a long, rambling text claiming we were both victims and that Heather had pursued him aggressively. I replied with a single word. Noted. Dismissive, but more than enough.
My own journey.
This part's harder to write. The first month after I moved out, I pretty much shut down. I worked, came home, ordered DoorDash, binged Netflix, slept, repeat. My apartment looked like a college dorm. A mattress on the floor, 1 pot, 2 plates, and not a single decoration in sight. It was bleak. Then one Saturday morning, Daryl showed up unannounced with a bag of bagels and staged what he called an intervention. He sat me down and basically forced me to talk, really talk, about how I was feeling. I'm not the crying type, but that day was rough. I ended up telling him things I hadn't even admitted to myself, that beneath all the anger, I was just sad. Sad for the time I'd lost. Sad for the future I thought I had. Sad that someone I trusted so completely could betray me so easily. After that, I started therapy. Found a therapist through BetterHelp who specialized in betrayal trauma. He didn't push reconciliation, forgiveness, or any of that hallmark nonsense. He just gave me tools. Practical, grounded tools to help me understand what happened and how to move forward. I took small steps at first. Got a proper bed frame. Joined a local soccer league. Said yes to social invitations instead of making excuses. Started cooking again, real meals, not just frozen pizza and protein shakes. About 2 months ago, I went on my first date since the divorce. Just coffee with a woman I met through a hiking meetup group. It was awkward. I'd honestly forgotten how to have a normal conversation with someone new. But it was a start. The final encounter. Last week, something unexpected happened. I was at Home Depot, buying paint for my new place, finally tired of staring at bare white walls, when I literally bumped carts with Heather. She looked different. Her hair was shorter. Her clothes more low-key. For a second, we both just froze. Then she asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I said yes. We sat on a bench outside, both clutching our Home Depot bags like shields. She began with a real apology. No excuses. No finger-pointing. No fake tears. Just a genuine acknowledgement of how deeply she'd hurt me. She said she'd been in therapy, trying to understand her choices. Trying to figure out why she'd done what she did. Part of me waited for the manipulation to begin. The tearful plea for another chance. But it never came. She didn't ask for anything. She just wanted me to know she was sorry, truly sorry, and that she hoped I was doing okay. Then she told me she was moving to Chicago for a fresh start. She had a job interview lined up and was staying with a college friend until she got settled. And the strangest thing? I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not even satisfaction. Just nothing. Like watching the finale of a show I stopped caring about halfway through the season. We said goodbye, awkwardly. No hug, just a nod. As she walked away, she turned back and said something that stuck with me. I know it doesn't matter now, but I really did love you. I just didn't know how to love anyone properly, including myself. I stood there, watching her drive away, and thought about how 6 months ago, that conversation would have broken me all over again. Now, it was just a strange Tuesday errand with a weird emotional footnote. Where I am now. My new place is coming together. It's smaller than the apartment we used to share, but it's mine. No ghosts. No emotional landmines. Just a space that finally feels like home. Work is going well. Friends are great. I'm good, most days anyway. There are still occasional stings. A song, a smell, a street we used to drive down. But those moments are getting fewer and farther between. Yesterday, I finally deleted all the evidence files from my computer. I still have backups locked away in a safe just in case, but I don't need those screenshots and timelines cluttering my digital life anymore. It felt symbolic, like clearing the cache on my actual life. I've started seeing someone new. We're taking it slow. She knows the basics of what happened, but not all the ugly details. She's patient with my trust issues and doesn't push when I need space. It's too early to know where it's going, but it feels good to care again. As for Heather, her mom, who still sends me birthday cards, weirdly, told me she's doing okay in Chicago. She got the job, found an apartment, making new friends. And honestly, I'm glad. Not because I wish her happiness, but because it means the story, our story, is truly over. The woman who once laughed behind my back, thinking I was too blind to see her betrayal, ended up learning some hard truths. That actions have consequences. That reputations take years to build, but seconds to destroy. And that once trust is broken, some things can never be repaired. And me? I learned that I'm stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. That starting over doesn't mean giving up. And that the best revenge is not destroying someone else's life. It's rebuilding your own, better than before. TLDR. The divorce is finalized. My ex-wife moved across the country. Her life unraveled mostly due to natural consequences. And I'm slowly, steadily, putting mine back together. My personal renaissance? Still a work in progress.